part of the night, the once joyful atmosphere of Disneyland transformed into an eerie and unsettling place. The moon hung low in the sky, casting twisted shadows that seemed to dance with malicious intent. Visitors who had entered the park earlier in the day had vanished without a trace. The cheerful music that usually echoed through the streets had been replaced by a haunting melody that sent shivers down the spines of those who dared to wander. The air was heavy with an unsettling silence, broken only by faint whispers that seemed to emanate from the darkness itself. As a lone security guard patrolled the park, his footsteps echoed ominously, as if accompanied by unseen entities. He couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, and every time he turned a corner, he caught glimpses of fleeting figures darting just out of sight. The iconic Sleeping Beauty castle stood tall, its turrets casting elongated shadows that seemed to reach out like skeletal fingers. The once vibrant colors of the attractions had faded, replaced by a sickly gray that added to the sense of decay and despair. A family of 4 had ventured into the haunted theme park, determined to enjoy a memorable vacation. They rode the rides in a desperate attempt to cling to a sense of normalcy, but the adrenaline rush was tainted by an inexplicable sense of dread. Each time they exited a ride, they found themselves deeper within a labyrinth of twisted pathways, unable to retrace their steps. As the night wore on, the family members began to notice odd changes in each other. Their smiles became strained, their laughter hollow, and their eyes took on an unnerving glint. It was as if the very essence of the park was seeping into their souls, replacing joy with a sinister hunger. The haunted spirits of former parkgoers seemed to materialize in the shadows, their faces contorted in agony as they beckoned the living to join them. Desperate cries echoed through the air, accompanied by chilling whispers that promised release from the eternal torment. The security guard's radio crackled to life with a voice that was both distorted and chillingly clear. "Welcome to the never-ending nightmare," it hissed. He stumbled back, his heart racing, as the darkness around him seemed to close in, suffocating and all-consuming. Attempts to escape proved futile, as the park's layout twisted and shifted, trapping visitors in a labyrinthine nightmare. The once friendly characters had transformed into grotesque parodies of themselves, their eyes empty voids that seemed to drain the life from those who met their gaze. With every passing moment, the boundary between reality and the nightmarish fantasy of Disneyland blurred. Visitors became trapped in a loop of terror, forced to relive their worst fears over and over again. And so, the haunted Disneyland became a place of unspeakable horrors, a realm where joy and innocence had been replaced by an insatiable darkness that hungered for the souls of the living. The chilling tale of the park's transformation spread like wildfire, a cautionary tale whispered in the dark, reminding all who heard it that even the happiest places can become the stuff of nightmares. In the hushed corners of Disneyland, where the laughter of children and the hum of rides once filled the air, there exists a darker tale that few dare to speak of. It was a night like any other, or so it seemed. The park had closed its gates, the lights dimmed, and the attractions powered down, settling into their nightly slumber. As the moon rose high, an eerie mist began to drift in, wrapping itself around the Sleeping Beauty castle. Shadows elongated and twisted in the moonlight, casting unsettling shapes upon the deserted pathways. A lone security guard, Jack, made his rounds, flashlight in hand, his steps echoing through the empty Main Street, USA. Everything was still, yet a sense of unease hung in the air. Jack's radio crackled to life with static, and he dismissed it as a technical glitch. But then came a whisper, a faint murmur that sent a shiver down his spine. "Come and play," the voice beckoned, a mixture of childlike innocence and sinister undertones. Jack's heart raced, and he swung his flashlight toward the source of the sound, only to find empty space. The shadows seemed to sway, almost dancing to a rhythm he couldn't hear. Pushing his fear aside, he continued his rounds, but the whispers persisted, growing louder and more insistent with each step. As he approached the haunted mansion, a gust of wind rustled the trees, and the mansion's windows glowed with an eerie green light. Jack's flashlight flickered, and then, in an instant, all the lights in the park blinked out. He was plunged into darkness, surrounded by the chilling embrace of the night. Desperation gnawed at him as he fumbled for his radio, desperately trying to reach his fellow guards. But the only sound that greeted him was the relentless chant of whispers, each syllable echoing through the empty spaces. Jack's steps faltered, and he stumbled upon a trail of small footprints that seemed to appear out of thin air. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and dread, he followed the footprints, which led him through darkened alleys and forgotten corners of the park. The footprints grew larger, and the whispers turned into hushed laughter that sent a chill down his spine. His flashlight flickered back to life, revealing a scene that defied reason. Before him stood a group of children, dressed in old-fashioned attire, their faces pale and vacant. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and they beckoned him to join their circle. Jack's heart pounded in his chest, torn between the desire to run and the inexplicable pull drawing him toward the children. He took a cautious step forward, and the ground beneath him seemed to shift, the very fabric of reality warping around him. The children's laughter grew louder, more manic, as if they reveled in his confusion. And then, with a sudden jolt, he found himself standing in the heart of an old-time carnival, its twisted rides and faded attractions stretching out in every direction. As he tried to make sense of his surroundings, he realized that the children had vanished. The carnival's eerie music echoed in the air, a haunting melody that seemed to seep into his very soul. A sinister figure emerged from the shadows, a carnival ringmaster with a sinister grin and eyes that glowed like embers. "Welcome to our world, Jack," the ringmaster purred, his voice a blend of honeyed charm and malevolence. "We've been waiting for you." Jack's breath caught in his throat as he realized the truth. The park he had known had transformed into a twisted realm, a nightmarish playground for the lost souls of children. The ringmaster gestured toward a towering roller coaster, its tracks twisting and contorting in impossible ways. "Join us, Jack," he whispered, his voice like a siren's call. "Experience the thrill of eternal night." Jack's mind raced, torn between the desire to escape and the curious allure of this dark realm. With a burst of adrenaline, he turned and fled, his footsteps echoing through the carnival's twisted pathways. But the park seemed to shift and change around him, becoming an endless labyrinth that defied logic. Each turn led him deeper into the heart of the nightmare, the ringmaster's laughter echoing in his ears. As hours turned to days, Jack's sanity began to fray. He glimpsed fleeting visions of the children, their hollow eyes and taunting grins haunting his every step. He heard whispers in the wind, their voices growing louder, urging him to surrender to the darkness. Just as he felt his resolve slipping, a faint glimmer of light pierced the shadows. The Sleeping Beauty castle loomed before him, its spires reaching toward the heavens. With newfound determination, he sprinted toward the castle, the whispers and laughter of the children chasing after him. As he reached the castle's entrance, the ground trembled, and the carnival realm began to collapse in on itself. The ringmaster's enraged screams filled the air as the twisted rides crumbled into dust, and the haunted attractions faded into nothingness. The children's voices grew fainter, their grip on reality slipping away. With a final burst of energy, Jack stumbled out of the castle, collapsing onto the cold pavement of Main Street, USA. The first rays of dawn bathed the park in a gentle light, dispelling the lingering shadows of the night. Jack's fellow guards rushed to his side, their concerned voices a stark contrast to the horrors he had witnessed. As the sun rose, the park slowly came back to life, its attractions awakening from their slumber. But for Jack, the memories of that terrifying night remained, a reminder that even the most enchanting places can hold dark secrets. And though the park appeared as it always had, he knew that somewhere, in the depths of the night, a sinister carnival realm still lurked, waiting to ensnare those who dared to tread its haunted pathways. In the hushed whispers of the night, Disneyland transformed from the happiest place on earth to a realm of haunting mysteries. It all began with reports of strange occurrences, employees claiming to hear disembodied giggles and seeing fleeting shadows out of the corners of their eyes. Visitors mentioned rides that seemed to start on their own, and unsettling faces captured in the reflections of windows. As darkness draped the park, an air of unease settled. The iconic Sleeping Beauty castle, once a beacon of enchantment, now appeared foreboding, its turrets reaching like skeletal fingers into the starlit sky. Tourists who dared to venture in after hours felt a creeping sensation of being watched, a chilling presence that hung in the air like a ghostly fog. One evening, a curious security guard named Ethan decided to unravel the truth behind the escalating rumors. Armed with a flashlight and an unyielding determination, he patrolled the dimly lit walkways. Shadows danced with every step, and the soft rustling of leaves sounded like sinister whispers. As the clock struck midnight, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Faint, eerie music filled the air, though no source was in sight. Ethan's heart raced as he noticed movement atop the Matterhorn ride. A shadowy figure, cloaked in darkness, glided down the icy slopes, leaving a trail of frost in its wake. Intrigued and apprehensive, Ethan followed the figure's path. It led him to an old, forgotten tunnel beneath the park. Illuminating the way with his flashlight, he ventured deeper, discovering a hidden chamber adorned with ancient symbols and a mural depicting scenes that seemed to blur the lines between fantasy and nightmare. A shiver ran down Ethan's spine as he realized the chamber's significance. It was a portal, a gateway between the world of the living and a realm of forgotten dreams and twisted fantasies. The laughter that had been reported was deafening now, echoing in his ears as he stepped closer to the mural. Suddenly, a gust of wind rushed through the chamber, extinguishing Ethan's flashlight. Darkness enveloped him, and a chorus of haunting whispers enveloped him. Panic surged as he fumbled to relight his flashlight, catching glimpses of phantom figures darting around him. As the light pierced the darkness once again, Ethan found himself standing in the heart of a surreal, nightmarish version of Disneyland. The rides were grotesque caricatures of their former selves, the laughter a cacophony of eerie echoes. Malevolent versions of beloved characters roamed the park, their eyes gleaming with malevolence. Desperation fueled Ethan's quest to escape this distorted realm. He navigated the twisted pathways, evading the fiendish characters and enduring their taunting laughter. With every step, the park seemed to reshape itself, walls of funhouse mirrors distorting reality, and pathways leading to dead ends. Time became an elusive concept as Ethan fought to maintain his sanity. The chilling laughter reverberated in his mind, a tormenting reminder of his predicament. Just as hope began to fade, he stumbled upon an ancient carousel, its calliope music hauntingly beautiful. Without hesitation, he leaped onto a vacant horse and clung to its saddle. The carousel spun faster and faster, the world around him blurring into a vortex of color and chaos. And then, with a jolt, the carousel came to a sudden halt. Ethan found himself back in the hidden chamber beneath Disneyland, his heart pounding with relief. He emerged from the tunnel, the first rays of dawn breaking over the horizon. The park's atmosphere had returned to normal, as if the night's horrors had never occurred. As the sun bathed the castle in warm light, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that he had glimpsed a world beyond imagination, a realm that existed on the fringes of reality. Though he kept his experience a secret, the memory of that night continued to haunt him. And as he patrolled the park, he couldn't help but wonder if the happiest place on earth concealed a darker side, a place where dreams could turn to nightmares and laughter could echo with chilling intent.